Hi folks, Mike Schramke with Larry Stove Sand Equipment, America's largest selling Kioti dealer. Let's do a deep dive on Kioti's CK20 series.
But first, hit that subscribe button.
This will be a product demonstration. We'll talk about the capabilities, the standard equipment, optional equipment, the different series, engines, transmissions, things like that. This won't be a sales video per se. This will be a video to show you what Kioti has to offer in the large frame compact tractors. A crowded market, everybody makes something in the 25 to 40 horsepower range, and a lot of them are pretty darn good tractors. I'd like to show you the Kioti CK20 series and show you what I think makes this the best tractor in the 25 to 40 horsepower large frame compact market. So let's take a deep dive on the Kioti CK20 series. Of the thousands of people that watch this video, some of you are very familiar with Kioti products and very, very familiar with the CK20. And some of you are just getting started trying to learn about tractors, and you really don't have any knowledge of this tractor or probably many others. So I'm going to present it as if we're starting from scratch. Welcome to Kioti's CK20 series. There's three main categories I think I could break the tractor down to. Well, first off, they come in 3 horsepowers, as I mentioned a minute ago, 25, 35, and 40. They all have the same lifting capabilities, front and rear. The difference is the engine, the horsepower. The standard transmission is 9 forward gears and 3 reverse gears. The hydrostat is a 3-range hydrostat. The next series is the CK20 SE. The SE is the fancy one that has all the stuff on it. In fact, it has just a couple of options, and that would be the transmission and whether somebody wants a third function valve to make a grapple work in the front. Otherwise, and we'll look at it, it's loaded. If these were trucks, we'd have the standard model being the F-150 XLT and the SE being the F-150 Platinum. Okay, give you some kind of a what's up on that. And that's available in a manual transmission or hydrostat as well. The same hydrostat as the standard model. The manual transmission is a little bit different. Instead of a 9 forward, 3 reverse, it has 12 forward and 12 reverse with a shuttle lever on the dash. And we'll talk about what shuttle means if you're not familiar with it. The third would be the cab. The cabs are only available in SEs, so cabs only come one way, and that is loaded. And they come in the 2620, 3520, 4020, but they are all loaded, and they are all hydrostats. So if you get a cab, it is a hydrostat, it is an SE, and then it's just a difference in horsepower. Who buys the tractor typically? Who is in the market for a tractor of this size and this horsepower? I think I can break that down into 3 categories. The largest segment of buyer would be the first-time buyer, first-time landowner. Probably the second is the man or woman that has a big tractor or many big tractors, and they want something small to do jobs that there's no reason to get the big one out. And the third would be folks that have a smaller tractor, and it's time for their first actual real capable machine. It can get into ground engaging, has a lot of loader lift. That would be probably the third. I'm going to start with the Kioti CK2620. That's where it all starts. It's our biggest seller. It's the perfect machine for folks that want a tractor that's very capable of picking stuff up and can operate implements up to 5 feet in size. Let's take a look. The 25 horsepower version, this one here, the CK2620, has its own fan base. And I'll tell you who buys these. Folks that want to operate a 5-foot implement. They want a 5-foot box scraper, 5-foot rotary cutter. They don't need 6 and 7-foot implements. 5 is exactly what they need. The 25 horsepower CK2620 it meets all of that criteria, and it lifts the same as the rest of them, and it costs less. And not just because it has a little less horsepower, it costs less because the engine design is completely different. If you're not familiar with Tier 4 emissions, you may have heard that, or federal emissions, you may have heard that term. What it means is that the federal government, I don't know what they do in Canada, and I know I have a lot of folks that watch me in Canada, but in the United States, anything over 25 horsepower has to have emission systems that cut down on soot, hydrocarbons, carbon dioxide, things like that, nasties that come out of the pipe. You'll get a little bit of that on the 25 horsepower because it doesn't have all the emission systems that are required on the larger engine tractors. The 2620 has a 3-cylinder Kioti diesel that has mechanical fuel injection. It has an engine-driven pump that drives fuel into the fuel injectors, and the engine compresses the fuel and air, and boom, we have a diesel engine. It's not much more sophisticated than that. It's very simple. It's the way diesels have been made for over 100 years, and it has its own charm. As we take a look at it, you can see not a whole bunch of wires or things that you can't easily recognize. Just an engine. It's got an oil filter, it's got a fuel filter, it's got a water separator. It has glow plugs, which it needs when it's cold to start. Glow plugs on a diesel preheat the combustion chamber so that when you turn the key and start to compress that fuel and air, it will already have a step up on being warm, and it'll be easier to start. A couple of things that you'll find optional on many of our competitors that are standard when you buy a Kioti tractor with a Kioti loader, and this applies to every tractor Kioti sells. It'll come with a brush guard, a level indicator, which I'll explain in a minute, and a skid steer type mount, a universal skid steer type bucket mount. So if you wanted to pick up a universal size set of pallet forks, or if you opt for a grapple, things like that, if it fits on a skid steer, it'll fit on a Kioti tractor. The level indicator is kind of cool. This argent colored rod goes through this beautiful Kioti orange tube, and when you're curling the bucket and the argent colored rod becomes level with the beautiful orange Kioti tube, that means the bottom of the bucket is level. The bottom of the bucket is dead on, put a bubble on it, level on the ground. And what that does for you is, say you're digging, and you could dig like 4 inches at a time. I looked that up and put it on the screen. Literally dig with the Kioti bucket. But you need to know where level is, so that you know where level is, and you can't see it from the seat, which is why I'm bringing this all up and why Kioti put that on there. You can't see the bottom of the bucket from the seat. As long as you know where level is, when you want to dig, you know that you do this. A couple of degrees forward and it will dig. Also comes in handy when you're back dragging. Back dragging is when, for example, you have you just dumped a bunch of rocks on your driveway and you want to smooth them out. You put the bucket down, you incline it just a couple of degrees, and you back up. And that's called back dragging. Kioti loaders also have a float design, and what that means is, turn the camera a bit and I'll show you. Notice the joystick on the loader is mounted on the fender. It's not up here, it's right here at a perfectly natural position for your hand to fall. That said, the loader goes up and down and it curls, forward and back, of course. When you put the bucket all the way down and it hits the ground, you could back drag there, but it does run a bit of a risk of doing damage to the bucket or the loader itself if you were aggressively back dragging and hit something unexpected, I don't know, sewer lid or whatever. It would provide a jolt that would be jarring and memorable. So Kioti includes a float design loader. So when you put the bucket down, it's all the way down. If you push it with some firmness forward, it'll lock into float mode. That way, when you're back dragging, it's literally floating. If it meets resistance, it'll go over it without damaging the loader or the bucket. The old timers refer to this as the working end of the tractor. So the working end of the tractor. This is what sometimes intimidates new tractor owners and new tractor, shoppers. It holds the implement, and how do you do that? And it looks scary. It's not. This is called a 3-point system. Harry Ferguson that Ferguson, like Massey Ferguson, he invented the 3-point system in the 1920s and partnered with Henry Ford to put it on mass-produced Ford tractors. And everybody since then uses it without too much difference. There's a couple of things that can make it a little easier to hook stuff up, but the basic 3-point design goes like this. This is a top link, that's 3-point, that's first point, and then you have a lower link arm, a lower link arm, 3 points. So all of the implements that you'll look at are universally designed to be that triangle shape on their end of it. So you could take a 3-point box scraper from us, and you could put it on a Kubota, a John Deere, you could put it on something made in China or Russia or whatever. This is a 3-point system, and it is the world standard. That's what's done with it. Also, any good tractor will have a drawbar standard, and this is a big one. It's 1.5 inches of solid steel. So when you need to pull something, you need to pull a trailer, the drawbar is ready to go. If you're like me, I have the older model. I have a CK10, and I'm forever pulling dead bushes and dead trees out with chains, and that's the part you'd want to hook up to. The PTO of a tractor, the power takeoff, is the shaft that comes out of the back end of the tractor that connects with a drive shaft of an implement that you wish to use. A tiller, a rotary cutter, a finishing mower, a post hole digger. They're all operated by having a gearbox on the device and a drive shaft that allows the tractor to power it. If you could think of the difference of a lawnmower, just a push mower, the engine drives the blade. On a tractor, the engine drives the drive shaft, which drives the gearbox, which drives the blade. It allows implements to use all of the engine, the torque, the horsepower that the tractor has to offer, and that would be a power takeoff. There's a couple of ways that power takeoffs are engaged, are turned on. This one, the CK2620, is old school. It has a clutch lever and an engagement lever. So when you want to fire up your PTO, get the drive shaft spinning, you will push the clutch in, slide the lever forward, and let the clutch out, and off it goes. When you put the clutch all the way in, it stops. And it's not more complicated than that. And again, that's a system that's been used for over 100 years. This is a quick attach type loader, so it is easily removable and equally easily put back on. Most folks won't do that, but it's good to know that you can. Everything I just shared with you on the CK2620, other than the horsepower, applies to the CK3520 and the CK4020. They have the same transmission choices. They have the same, front and rear lift. They have the same everything other than horsepower. If you like the tractor, but you would like 35 or 40 horsepower, it's the same machine with a different engine. The standard CK20 series, 2620, 3520, 4020, has a lot of things that you can buy that are options. There's a lot of niceties, if you will, convenience items, comfort items, that you can buy as optional equipment on your CK20 standard series. Most of this stuff will be standard on the next series, which is SE, but some folks, they want the value of the standard CK20 series, but they might like 1 or 2 things, or 3 or 4, and they pick them as options. For example, the CK20 series can, if it's a hydrostat transmission, it can have cruise control. It can also have a linked pedal. And that's a little confusing if you're not standing here with me, but on a hydrostat transmission, a linked pedal is a convenience item for when you're not actually working the tractor as a tractor. All you're doing is running down to the mailbox, you're going across the field, you're doing whatever, you're not working. You can engage the linked pedal, and then from an idle, as you push the pedal down, it appropriately matches the engine RPM to the position of the throttle, just like your car. The further you push down on the pedal, the higher the RPMs, the higher the ground speed, and the higher of everything. And it's a nice little option, doesn't cost much. And if you do a lot of running on your country lanes or going down to the fuel station or whatever, it's kind of cool. The CK20 series can also have telescopic lower link ends along with telescopic stabilizers. And they make hooking 3-point implements quite a bit easier. You don't have to get dead on to put that pin of the implement through the hole at the bottom. You don't have to be dead on like you do on the standard version. With the telescopic, you get 3 inches fore and aft and a couple inches up and down. So you only have to back the tractor up in the general vicinity of your 3-point implement to hook that up. And that's kind of nice. Again, it's not expensive. I think it's under $400. The seat is a Grammer brand seat. It's a good seat. It's a good seat company. And it is a suspension seat. You can get armrests if you wish. You can get a small toolbox. You can double the thickness of the leading edge of the bucket. So it's called the cutting edge. If you are doing a lot of ground engaging with your bucket to protect it and to do a better job of cutting, you can buy what essentially is a second leading edge that just bolts right on through these holes. CK20s are not standard with the heavy duty rubber floor mat. They have a steel floor, but if you bought the tractor from us or buy the tractor from us, it will have had or have a rubber deck mat. And that's because first year in business, there was ice on the deck. I climbed up and realized what an enhancement the rubber deck mat is. So it will have that, but it is optional, but from us, it'll be on there. You could get side mirrors. The tractor, the standard version is standard with 0 rear hydraulic remotes, and some folks will need auxiliary remotes. The most obvious example would be for a backhoe, but also for some log splitters. Anything that uses hydraulics instead of a shaft drive will require rear hydraulic remotes. Probably the most popular option these days is the third function system. If you know what it is, that's great. If not, you've heard about it. The third function system allows the front loader to do a third function. There's 2 functions on it. One is up and down, and the other is curling fore and aft. That's 2 functions. But what if you want to put a grapple on it? You need it to do those 2 functions, plus you need it to squeeze. You need the jaws of the grapple to come down. That would be the need for a third function. And very popular option because we do sell so many grapples and they do require a third function system. That's a pretty good overview on the CK20 standard series, CK2620, CK3520, CK4020. And I think I'll end the video here, and next I'll post one on the CK20 SE, the fancy one. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you watch part 2 on the Kioti CK20 SE series. If you have questions, would like a quote, would like any information at all, give us a call at 615-956-0334, 615-956-0334, or email us sales@lsetractor.com. Sales at LSE, like Larry, Stokes and Equipment Tractor.com. I can assure you we're very responsive. If you ask, we answer. Thanks for watching my video, and please subscribe.
Hang on real quick. Hang on before you go. I was debating whether I wanted to share this or not, and I do. There are 3 main competitors in this segment. There is Kubota, John Deere, and Kioti, and then there's everybody else. And the 3 big names in this category are all very good tractors. I would never say that somebody shouldn't buy a Kubota because of its quality, or a Deere because it's junky, or whatever. These are fine tractors, all 3, and all 3 similar horsepowers, transmission choices, things like that. But when you start looking at the loader capacity, the hydraulic output, you can hit pause if you want, or the operating weight. I didn't add the loaders, but figure another 800 pounds for the loaders or whatever. There are differences. Kioti shows itself very favorably. And which one do you think is the most economical to purchase? Watch for the second in this series. I'll finish up the CK20 series deep dive. Thanks.